And we are back. That was a pretty good
All
first
right.
segment.
So do you want to hear the story
I
on
do.
how I got into taping?
I do.
All right. So when I was I'm 30, I just turned 31 years old, and when I was 19, almost 20, I bought my first house. And there's a
Well
little
done.
farm town just east of us. Thank you. I had a lot of help from my dad. We tore it down, built it back up. It was pretty good. Which also I want to drop is super special because my father passed away 5 years ago, and today is actually his birthday. So when you shot me a message and said, "Hey, do you want to record today?" I'm like, "Oh, dude, that's awesome."
Yeah, good. Good.
But anywho, so I was living in that house and I was out of town on a goose hunting trip, and my basement had flooded and the water had sat down there for 2 or 3 days. So the drywall soaked it all up and black mold had set in. So I tore
Oh,
most of it out, and I tore the ceiling out. All the soffit was boxed in. All the ductwork was boxed in, which I didn't need to do, but I didn't know any better. I just tore it all out, and I called a bunch of companies and got bids, and it was like, man, it was like $13,000. This was in like 2012, 2013 for them
yeah.
to rehang it and finish it. And I'm like, man, I'm a poor coal miner. I don't have that kind of money. I was just getting ready to have my first kid. And so I went to Lowe's, bought the board, bought some paper tape and some all-purpose mud and a knife and pan, and went at it. And man, did I get slapped in the face by reality. I'd never touched drywall mud in my life before that. I was a coal miner majority of my adult life, and it was, let's put it this way, it was a lot of caking mud on and a lot of taking it back off.
Oh, yeah.
But there was something about it. I'm like, man, this is, and I watched a ton of YouTube videos on it, but I was like, I kind of liked that. Like it was a pain in the butt scraping it all back off, but there was something about whipping the mud up and then throwing it up. It felt good. So, um, I'd always been in the trades. My dad, he was the board director for the Department of Ag. He regulated the grain industry in Illinois, but every weekend that I can remember growing up, he was setting tile in someone's house or someone's bathroom. My dad was a phenomenal tile layer. He could do some pretty slick stuff. And then just growing up with a dad like that, you learned how to do everything. You learned how to put roofs on. You learned how to
Yeah.
paint the right way, I should say, the right and wrong way. You learned how to do it right, and you learned how to do it his way. And when I was 19 years old, I started digging coal, and to get some beer money on the weekends, I'd pick up odd jobs and side jobs. And someone says like, you know how to finish drywall? I'm like, yeah, of course I do. I mean, I'm great at it. And the only thing I've ever done is that basement.
Yeah.
And so after about 2 dozen butcher jobs, and I would stay there and make it right, but it
Yeah.
would take a really long time.
Same.
Um, Something just kind of got under my skin. I started researching. I started watching YouTube videos. I started seeing these guys running bazookas and flat boxes and angle boxes. I'm like, holy crap, that looks easy. I'm gonna go get a set of those. So I ordered a set of level 5 boxes and quickly found out, holy crap, this is not easy. This is really not easy to do. These guys make it
Yeah.
look like a cakewalk.
Yeah.
And I just never stopped, man. And for years and years, I would pick up all these side jobs, and then I put the boxes down after I used them twice in the early 2000, probably 2015, 2016. I'd used them twice. I'm like, these things are useless to me.
Mm,
And I taught myself how to hand finish.
good for you.
And then a couple years later, I got them back out, and I started seeing all this Columbia stuff online. And I got online and ordered a set of Columbia tools, Columbia boxes, pump, angle box, and the rest is history. I just ran with it, and I
Yeah.
love it. And I hear people say, "Man, oh, I hate finishing drywall." Well, I love it.
Yeah.
I
It's
love
my,
every second of it. I love how frustrated I get. I love how stressed I get. But there's just something so satisfying by stepping back and looking at everything and being like, man, that looks good. And it's going to look even better tomorrow when I come and skim it and buff it.
yeah. And I mean, it's that next day when I walk in where everything looks really good because it's still drying when you leave. And you come in, you're like, damn,
Right.
that is some clean looking work.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
there
yeah.
is a good feeling that comes behind that. There's a sense of accomplishment that comes with
Yes.
drywalling where you can walk into a framed house, and then when it's drywalled, it's a totally different place. And then when it's been finished, it's a totally different place again. And you're kind of the one that
It
wraps it up.
it feels whole. It starts to
Yeah.
feel whole whenever you're done finishing, and I love that. And you know, when a homeowner comes in and it's wet and I can always see them looking around. There might be some knife marks on the wall, or there might be some sharp edges, and I'm like, don't worry about that. Those are all going to disappear when they're drying.
Yeah.
Like that ceiling I was talking about, I used my 24-inch tomahawk blade to pretty much do that whole ceiling. And she was like, well, what about these spots and these spots? I'm like, wait till in the morning.
Yeah.
Come in the morning and take a look at it. And she texts me, she's like, oh my God, the ceiling looks so great. And I'm like, ha, woo.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I love
always
it.
I always have this moment where I'm like, I don't know if it's like imposter syndrome or what, but like I've got all the shit, I've got it figured out. It just takes time, right? It's at this
Oh
point
yeah.
now with me, it's just speed. But I
Hmm.
always have that moment of like, until you get some feedback, you're like, I wonder if this even looks good. I always
Right.
have that, right? And then the customer comes and they go like, this is wild. Because I think people that haven't seen the automatic tools have never seen it look crisp like that or straight or
Right.
right. It's very aesthetically pleasing, and it looks very professional. If they've ever seen like Uncle John or whoever to hand tape a house, it's very different. So
Hmm.
it's that
Yeah.
response that you get back. But for some reason, I'm always wound up about it.
That's my big thing now is that I'm comfortable enough on the tools, on how to run them, on how to tune them, on how to get my boxes to work for me. Because
Yes.
I picked up, other people's boxes and I can't run them like I can run mine. I push too hard. I'm not pushing hard enough, so on and so forth. I've got mine set up the way I like them. So now it's all about aesthetics for me as a finisher. I watch these guys on YouTube and Instagram and see just such perpendicular, straight, square
Yep.
lines, and it's like there's just something about it, and it's just like, oh, that is the most satisfying thing I've ever seen. Why can't my work look like that? So now there's a lot of me being self conscious about how I'm running my tools to
Yeah.
get that to so I can snap that picture to where it looks like that. Because once it's painted, because when people do that, that's solely for them. You know what I mean? That's just
Oh,
that's just for their own satisfaction.
I've said that a few times on here where I'm like, once you get to a certain point with the automatic tools, it just turns into like, how pleasing can I make this look to me?
Right.
Right. And then you post it for the rest of us that do that because nobody
Yeah.
fucking sees that. It gets painted and it's gone. It's like
Yeah.
making a sandcastle, right? And the waves
Yeah.
come in.
And I,
Yeah,
I
but
meant to take a picture with I just got a 3-inch nail spotter.
nice.
And holy cow, was that a game changer for me? I got it for a commercial job. There you go. Yeah, yeah. I got the same one. I love it.
Yeah,
And I see I'll take a picture like after I tape one day and maybe after I run my boxes and split my butts, but then I get so busy.
yeah.
I'm like, oh man, I really want I've been going live a lot more lately.
Good for you.
Um,
Yeah,
because I don't have time. It doesn't register in my mind to stop and take a picture of what I'm doing so I can put it out there. So I put it live. I put it on, I set my iPhone up against something and just go. But
totally.
yeah.
These things are super dope. The little ring lights. Now
Oh, that's
mine,
sick, man.
I broke mine about 5 seconds into having it, so get used to that. Um,
Yeah.
but you set it wherever you want. It's got a light on it if you need a light. 30 bucks or something. They're not very much.
Oh, that's
Um,
nice. Yeah, I'll
it,
have to look into
it,
that.
yeah, the difference is it'll hold your phone. Like you can crank it down, right? So I don't know. I just feel like you get a better angle out of it if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of times that I like set up my phone perfect and then go to run a room and then come back and it's on the fucking floor face down and you're like, oh,
Every
I,
time.
I
Every time.
wonder, I wonder how much of that we got. And it's like five.
I'll start a live video and then about 20 minutes in, I'll get a text and it says, pick your phone up. And I'll look down at my phone because I'll set it in the corner of the room and it's on the ground, just looking straight up. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man. Because I honestly, I forget it's running.
Yeah.
I get in, I got the music cranked and I get in the zone and I'm feeling good about what I'm doing. And it's like, well, okay.
So with the fresco stuff, when I do the samples, I'm filming myself now. So
Nice.
well, so then I could kind of like go back to, hey, you remember that one that I did? How did I make that? Like, how did I make the ripples or whatever? Now I'm filming
I
it all
saw
so I
that.
can see it. So I'm on the phone with somebody FaceTime while I'm doing it. And then I walk over to the ring light and I'm like, oh shit, it's like 12 minutes or something of recording. And then he looks at me on the FaceTime. He's like, so our whole conversation was recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, but you can trust me. Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
funny. It's
Yeah.
funny shit.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so that's good, man. I really do enjoy taping. So I'm going to go back full time, but I mean, having something that gives you that little bit of accomplished feeling, and you're really enjoying it, and it obviously pays pretty well.
Right.
That's a nice hobby to have. It's not something that
Yeah.
you're dumping money into all the time. You can go and like play, do a great job, get that good feeling, and then someone's going to pay you to do it at the end of the day. It's hard to beat that.
Right. Right. Fortunately for me, I had everything already bought and relatively learned before I
Hmm.
went out on my own, minus the bazooka.
Yeah,
Um, I want one, but I don't have anyone to show me outside of YouTube, and that tool just seems like such a hands-on tool.
it
You know,
is.
you can
Yeah.
watch. I've watched a million YouTube videos. I've watched all the Columbia how-tos. I've watched everyone and their sister run it, but I've never personally done it. And until I get my hands on it and fuck it up a little bit,
Hmm.
I'm not going to get one. I wish I had someone around here that let me use one, but I don't.
Yeah. I mean, the when I took that job out in Sudbury for the site superposition, I told him I'll come on, but my signing bonus is a set of Columbia tools. And
Oh, very nice.
yeah, he got me the Predator. It was the tactical set. I'm trying to remember what it
Oh
was,
shit,
what it's
yeah,
yeah, so it was like 7 grand or something like that.
fucking a.
But I'd never run the Predator before. And I didn't have the mud consistency right. I put the fucking fiber fuse max in backwards. Like I did a whole bunch of things that were wrong, but very quickly you figure it out. Like if you play with it for an hour, you got it so you're using it. And then everything past
Right,
that is just efficiency, and efficiency is going to come. But at
right.
least that's the way I
It's
look at it.
slow is smooth and smooth is fast,
You got
man.
it. You got it, man.
But the problem with me is I get a new tool and I want to go 100 miles an hour.
Totally.
I just I just want to go wide open and whatever happens happens.
Yeah. There were a few times with that once I got like quote unquote running around with it, where I ended up on my back because I was like,
No
"Zzz."
shit.
Oh well, I'm up here using it and I'll like step on a fucking screwdriver or something that's on the floor. Yeah, but the third time that
Yeah.
happened, the guy that was up there with me as the laborer, I just looked at him. He's like, "Are we going home?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're we're done today." I was so mad.
Yeah, I feel you. There's been a couple times I've thrown my tools across the room and just said, "All right, done, done. I'm out of here." I use stilts for as much as I can. I don't like
Nice,
scaffold. It's not efficient for a one man show. And
definitely
I'm
not.
not a small person by any means. I'm 265 pounds. So
Hmm.
my first pair of Durastelts went from, I want to say, 16 to 24, and I landed the bid on a new construction barn dominium, a pole barn house. And oh, you're gonna love this story. Okay, so I,
Those
I
are
went and
dope.
looked at it. They're really dope and they're super popular out here. I
Yeah,
went and looked at it, Sean, and it was I want to say it was 190 sheets, 10-foot ceilings. The
perfect.
homeowners hung it, and it was actually a pretty decent hang job, minus one section on the ceiling that would have been a 60-foot butt joint. I said, other than that, you guys did a great job. I mean, they did their research. Everything was 12-foot board. It was offset
Beauty.
nicely. Yeah. Um, so I shot them a price. I put everything in the contract. They liked it. We had a start date. So I show up that Monday morning, and over the weekend, the homeowner's wife took mesh tape and plus three and taped all the flats, all the butts, and almost all the angles on every single wall in that house.
Why?
they weren't there when I walked in. She thought she was helping. They didn't want a lower price. They just thought they were expediting the process. I walked in and I'm like, oh my God.
This is all
So
very bad. Yeah.
this is very, very bad. When
Oh
she
shit.
spotted the screws, if you could imagine someone taking a 3-inch knife, dipping it into a bucket of mud and slapping the wall, that's what the screws looked like. So immediately called the homeowner and I was like, listen, dude, we got a problem. He's like, well, what? And, I told him everything. And he's like, well, we thought we were just helping. I'm like, so here's how we're going to handle this. I'm going to get my power sander out and I'm going to spend the next 9 hours sanding all this out, or we can just walk away and you can find somebody else because you guys have created a ton of work. He said, no, 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 no. I said, also, I'm going to have to charge you for the day. This is going to be outside of our agreed upon price.
Yeah.
So I did. And until we got into the corners, she had so much mud caked into these internals that there was about an inch and a half variance from the board to the top of the mud. And I said, so can I rip all this out, chip it out, and let me tape it? He's like, well, just float it out. And I'm like,
Load
I'm
it
not
out.
going to float it out, but I have a 3.5-inch flusher and I'll see what I can do. And he's like, cool. So, long story short is I typed something up that night and, they acknowledged their error. This, your shit's probably going to crack because nothing was pre-filled. It's a brand
Yep.
new home that hasn't settled. And, then they hired another company to come in and spray everything and knock it down. I mean, the house looked great. The ceiling was stomped. That was the worst part. The ceiling was crow's foot stomp, and then they had knocked down on all the walls. Oh, it looked super
The
gaudy,
walls
man.
were knocked down.
The walls were knocked down, and the ceiling
Oof.
was a crow's foot stomp. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
It's way back on my Instagram story, but it was, man, it was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of handwork on that one.
Those barn dominiums, my cousin, well, I do to a certain extent, but our building, he makes those and it's incredible. Yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dude. So Kyle Suppenhorse is actually like an hour and a half to an hour, 2 hours north of me.
No way. I actually
Yeah,
reached out to him about the podcast and this was like in December.
yeah.
And he was like, get a hold of me in the new year, but I didn't.
He is a super awesome dude.
He seems so cool. Yeah.
Wicked smart.
Oh yeah.
Wicked smart.
Well, he was in like tech or something prior to getting into doing
He
pole
was
barns.
he was an IT guy, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he was just the same thing. He learned how to work on houses from his old man, and then he got into the commercial side of things and just started building these buildings. Man, his stuff is so sick.
Well, that's why I started watching his stuff because it is like to the precision that I'll do something where you just see you're like, this is just so overkill, it's almost unbelievable. But somebody that like enjoys
Right.
that, he really
Hmm.
does it right. It's yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
And he's a huge tool nerd. I'm a really
Yes,
big tool nerd, and I live by the saying "buy once, cry once" when it comes to my tools.
totally.
So everything I have is what I want. It's not what I need to get by for the job. It's like, nah, swipe that card. We'll deal with it later.
Yeah, my cousin does the same thing where he's just like, I know what the tool is that makes this easier, and I know what the bullshit one is. And then he just goes,
Right.
no, we're gonna go all
Yeah.
out. And it
Yeah.
seems very excessive until like 6 months later when you're like, if I had done something different here, I wouldn't have been happy. Or it would have
Right.
been broken, or it wouldn't have been, you finally use that feature that's only on the best one. And you're like,
Right.
see, I wouldn't have been able to do this. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I like
And
that. Tool
I'm
nerd. Yeah.
yeah. I'm a tool nerd. Big time. From the tool belts I strap on my back, on my hips, to the branded tools I run for each job, because I try to dabble in a little bit of everything.
For
I
sure.
shift my focus to drywall. One, because I thoroughly enjoy it, and there's a okay, let's put it this way. There's a stigma that comes with drywallers. You know what I mean? It's the same stigma that's with roofers and concrete masons, at least in our area, is they're super rough around the edges. They like their booze. It's going to be a roll the dice if they're going to show up.
Yeah.
So I had this thought process, or I had this thought process was that, let's rewrite this image of drywall finishers, especially in my area. There's not a lot of young guys, 30, 31, putting out quality work, commitment, show up, nice, clean truck, clean trailer. clean shirts and doing good work. You're here on this time. You're not asking for half your money up front, or hey, I know you just paid me, but I need some more. And I think that was a
Professionals.
huge selling point. But yeah, professionals. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of what I modeled myself after. And there was one guy in our area named Steve Lockwood. Shout out Lockwood Finishes. Look him up on Instagram, man. He does some really sick stuff with plaster. He'll take a brick fireplace and make it look like a marble wall. He is a really really good dude. He was the first company that hired me off of Instagram. I saw him on Instagram. He was looking for guys to come work for him. I said, well, I just started this business. If you want to do some W-2 work, or if you want to hire me, and he threw me a half a house.
Ooh,
And we built this awesome relationship. When my boxes were being rebuilt, he let me use his stuff.
nice.
Super, super solid guys. Very talented finisher. He can finish a house faster by hand than I can with the tools.
I love guys like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But he's been doing this for 35 years. He's been doing this longer than I've been alive.
Yeah, the guy that I'm gonna go work under now is a 50-year taper.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's like a grandmaster. It's I kind of looked at everything else that I've done in my career, and I found kind of who I thought was the best, and I learned from them. And then that's why I'm so good at everything now. So with the taping, all of it has been self-taught. And I
Right.
say self-taught now, I've talked to guys like Brad, I've talked to guys like everyone from the podcast. I've been on Instagram. So you do kind of pick up stuff here and there, but it's not going to be the same as like learning under someone. And the
Right.
money's good. I got all the tools. So like efficiency is there. It's just going to be like small technique critiques and things like that. I'm super excited. I'm super
Yeah.
excited.
That's awesome. Other than Steve Lockwood, I've never had anyone show me anything. I mean, he was the
Hmm.
first one that showed me how to use off angle tape, like
Yep.
um like no coat 325 and that stuff. I was doing a remodel on a house built in the 40s, and it had a bunch of off
Jeez.
angle stuff, and I was trying to set a label or laser and get it perfect, and he's like, no, 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 keep the mud out of the angle, you'll never get it out of there, and blah blah, twist your knife like this. And he really showed me some sweet stuff with handwork, man. I can't
Hmm.
thank that dude enough, actually, for my business. He did a lot for me when I first opened up.
And that's important to remember too. And I have this conversation with a lot of people where they've learned things from someone else, and when they talk about it, they don't bring up that who taught them. It's almost like
Right.
they figured it out themselves. And I kind of feel like that does a disservice to everybody, because if somebody,
Oh, for sure.
if you are awesome at skateboarding and someone taught you how to skateboard, it's, maybe they want to go learn, and, they can
Right.
walk down the same path. Especially with ideas of like, hey, why do you do it that way? And people pretend that it's their idea. Fundamentally, they don't understand why, but they know how to
Hmm.
do it. So, when you're asking questions and stuff, it doesn't work out very well. But yeah,
Oh, for sure.
I really do enjoy that when people tell a story and they're like, and this was a big part of it, and then you shut the person out. There's a lot of integrity behind that.
You got to stay humble, man.
Yeah, man. It's you
Other
know.
uh, other other than the labor part, most of my success was from people coaching me along the way, and
Hmm.
I don't want to say I had a ton of coaching, but dude, there's so many people I reached out to on Instagram that were complete strangers that just gave me 20 minutes of their day, and just taught me so much out of that 20 minutes. It was insane. So I'm super thankful for that. And I still reach out to people all the time. Heck, that's how I ran into you. I
Yeah,
just reached, or I think you might have shot me a message first, but regardless, the second someone does that, I try to maintain a relative relationship,
absolutely.
whether that's just liking pictures, shooting messages here and there, showing off work, letting people know that the work they're putting out, I think, is insane.
Well, yeah, I always do that. If I ever do the wow, I make sure that I like it and I comment or whatever. Like you do that back and forth. But typically, if something's impressive, I'll message and just
Yeah.
not even start a conversation. Just that is impressive, and that even leave it at
Right.
that, because I think
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
there's a lot of us out there pushing the limits a little bit, and like you really aren't 100% that you're fucking killing it all the time. And it's nice when people reach out and they're like, "Hey, stranger, it you seem to be very good
Oh,
at
for
that."
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or when somebody messages you and says that they watched something or did something, or you pointed them in the right direction of something and it made a difference. There's a real good feeling that comes with that too. For sure.
Uh, I love it. I love it when I put something on a story, just a quick pic, and then you look down at your phone and you see the Instagram tab with messages, and it's just a bunch of little fire symbols or the
Yeah,
100s. It's like, woo, that's what I'm talking about.
that's right. I, I knew that kicked
Yeah,
ass. Yeah. Yeah,
that's right. I knew that was great, but now I really know it's great.
that's right. But now I'm not just in
Yeah.
love with myself. It was great. Yeah. Um, so who else were you reaching out to? You said you had a little bit of a list.
Oh man, let's see. I've talked to I talked to Cam quite a bit. Actually, he's talking about maybe coming down. We actually live like 5 hours apart. He's talking about coming over to Illinois and doing a little crappie fishing with me and a little bird hunting in the
Yeah.
fall. I'm a huge hunter. I spend as much time as I can outdoors. I love to fish. I love to shoot birds.
Yeah.
Uh, I've talked to Nick. I've talked to Brad. Brad's a really cool dude. Um, Phil from PRC messaged me back one time. That was awesome. Chad Hesher
Yeah.
and all sorts of people. I wish I could pull up my phone and just look at my messages because anytime I have any sort of question or like any sort of like thought about something, I reach out instantly,
Yeah.
and it comes back tenfold. I love it.
Well, so you should, right? That's what the community we're fucking working on is. Where,
Right,
when you feel tight, you're not, man. Just speak up and somebody will answer.
right.
Right? Yeah, I like when you said when Phil messages you back, there is kind of like an excited
Well, he's like a
feeling.
he's like a
I
celebrity in the drywall industry as far as
yeah.
I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I had
Fozzie, I've messaged him a
yeah,
couple times.
Boz is dope,
Yeah, he's a
man.
really
I
solid
like
dude
him
too.
a lot.
He's a really great dude. Yeah.
Yeah, even on like a personal level, a lot of those people that I really get along with, like Cam and Brad and Josh, they're great finishers, but they're
Uh-huh.
incredible people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you could, I would have no qualms with spending a month with Cam if we were like exploring or taping or doing whatever. He's the type of guy that you could
Oh, for
spend
sure.
time around because he's very honest. Like you get what you
Right.
get with him.
He's just a regular ass
Genuine.
dude.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah, it's a good little group, man. There's always gonna be those fucking people that want to express that they're better than you or like smarter or they do something better, but they come and go, right?
Right.
The people that are genuine, they're gonna be around. And they're typically the
But
ones that answer the messages and do the good.
you just don't see that a lot. At least from my perspective, you don't see a
Yeah.
lot of that in the drywall community, man. Like I deal with a ton of tradespeople, and my electricians and the framers I've hired and whatnot. Those guys are just so far up their own asses that they're the best and whatnot. And it's just
Yeah.
like you don't get that with tapers. Even the tapers around here that I do know, they're an open book.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of other trades are just so closed off. You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking any other tradesperson, but I'm just saying when it comes to just conversating and having a good time and bullshitting
Mhm.
while you're working. I don't get that with a lot of the other tradespeople I know.
Yeah, I always found when I was framing, you would get that, but always when you're drywalling and taping.
Oh yeah,
It's
oh
like
yeah,
we're all the right same amount damaged, I guess.
oh yeah, oh for
Yeah.
sure, dude.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. And I thought about finishing as it being cool. It was one of those things. I always say that it's like skateboarding. It was
Yeah,
something that I liked watching, but I was never going to be able to do it. And I'm really happy that I started. Brad and I were having drinks in his backyard the one time, and he was telling me that taping's going to be up past $2, and like we're going to have a real issue with tapers. And I left that going. That's one of those things I never finished. Like typically, if I'm
right,
gonna like framing, I am a quote unquote carpenter. I can stick frame a roof. I can build a jewelry box. I can do everything that has to do with carpentry. I'm a carpenter.
right.
I'm a drywaller in the place where I can frame and board, but I never mastered taping. I just never
Right.
did. So, when he kind of tweaked that in my brain a little bit of like maybe it's not a bad path to walk down, I'm really happy that I did. Because I get
Oh, for
so
sure,
much
dude.
from it. I get so much from it.
Right. Right. See, I'm the exact opposite. I'm a wood butcher.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
can, like, so we frame a ton of false walls because everything's already got a drop ceiling installed, so we're
Yeah.
just framing up to it, and we try to stand up as many walls as we can from the ground instead of stick framing it. And we got this really good system where I shout out numbers, he cuts them, I
Yep.
nail them, then we lift. Yep,
Mhm.
yep. But when it comes to the finishing side, I do all the finishing at work, and I love it. Like tomorrow, I'll be posting a video. I got to go skim out 2 walls at one of our buildings, and then I want to say 2,500 square wall feet to start skimming out. I peeled off all the wallpaper and then
Nice.
jackhammered up all that tile. But the problem is they tiled their baseboard was all tile, so it's 5 inches tall. So I gotta really float that bottom out for cove trim, that rubber cove base. So that's going to be a
Oof.
pain in the butt. But I have Thursday and Friday to skim, sand, and paint so we can
Jesus
get our bathroom,
Christ.
all of our fixtures installed and all of our partitions. So that means I go to work at 4 a.m. and then by the time I'm done with all my side work, it'll be 7:30, 8 o'clock when I get home.
Yeah, that's a good
But
day.
I'm gonna try to take some really cool videos. And I'm still old school. I thin my mud out super thin, like
Yeah.
pancake batter thin, roll it on, and I'll roll a whole wall, and I'll take the 42 inch, 36 or 42, and on the tomahawk. And I don't have the handle for it. I use it by hand. And I just get up and down a step ladder and just wipe. There you go. Yeah, man, you're rocking
I
all of
got
it,
fucking
dude.
everything at my desk here.
I love it,
Yeah,
man.
I use it by hand if I'm using it. I
Do you?
very rarely do I put it on the, yeah. I just more controlled, I feel like.
Right. Have you ever used the tomahawk before?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. So
Have you?
I've had a tomahawk for a long time for my 7 inch and for wiping behind the predator.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so it's like it was made for it. It's perfect. But for the other stuff, like I'm not doing full ceilings. My butt joints now, my third coat is a coat that is then skimmed with a tomahawk instead of running the 14 3 times.
Okay.
Um, so it's just a little bit different, but I'll obviously be using the tomahawk for that. Just it's gonna be easier, especially on the
How do
ceilings.
how do you do your butt joints?
Okay, so when I'm taping, I do my butts first, and then I go with all my
Always.
bevels, right? And then
Always.
as that room is finished, I'll go on to the next one, butts and bevels, and so on and so forth. And then I'll come and do my verticals and my corners. And when I finish the corners in a room, I'll hit the butt joints just with mud with like a 7 inch knife, just to kind of like bed it. And then if there's enough time in that first day, and if not, it's the first thing I do on the second day, is I run my 10-inch box wide open on either side of the
Oh
tape.
yeah. Yep.
So
Always. Yep.
now you've created two mounds like this, right? So
hmm
when you come in that next day, you run a 12 over the
Wide
top
open.
of
Yeah.
both, and I'll even run it like three, and
Really.
yeah, and then on either side, you're running it. So what you've done now is you've gone from two humps to like this.
Right.
And then you can come back and run the whole thing over with a 14. But again, I was running it on like a 4 or a 5. So I didn't feel like I was really doing much. And the more I'm talking to people, skimming out that butt joint last is seems to be the right way. It's
Yeah. See what I do is when I tape everything. I tape all my butts, then I tape all my flats, and then I wipe my banjo down, get it clean, and I use a Delco Zunder to tape everything except my angles. I
okay.
use my Columbia 42 inch tube
Yeah.
and their applicator, and then I just take literally a whole roll of tape, crease it until the whole roll's gone, and I just run like crazy throughout whatever I'm taping, and then I roll it and flush it. But then I come back the next day when I run my 10 box. I box all my flats and then split all my butts wide open, and
Yeah.
then hit it with the 12 wide open, and then cross everything off by hand. But I'll take my hawk and trowel and my big 42-inch skimming blade, and I'll do all my butts by hand.
So when you're running that 12 wide open, are you finding that it just fills it real good, or is it leaving a mound in the middle?
Um, let me rephrase that. I generally run it wide open, but I check every single butt.
Yeah.
And if I didn't wipe my tape real hard, because you got to be careful wiping 5-FUs, especially on butt joints.
It
You'll
frizzes
rip
up,
that
man.
tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then it just gets super annoying. I might go to a 1 and keep a little less mud on it, but no, generally I don't think it mounds. But I haven't really paid that much attention because once I'm done, I get my hawk and trowel out and I skim
Yeah.
everything and put it on a little heavy and pull it all off with my blade.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like
Yeah,
that's the key is really filling it in and then skimming it out at the last. Like
yeah.
running the boxes really builds that nice base for what you want to do, but I think
Oh, for sure.
that's skimming it is the way to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I want to get a tomahawk, but I don't have access to Columbia tools through a distributor here. I have to order everything online, and if I can't immediately go to the store and get it,
Yeah.
I'll wait until the very last second or till I absolutely need it. And
Yeah.
my, I can get tape tech and drywall master tools here, but I have brand, I'm committed to a brand and that's what I
Right.
stay with. And I can't stray from that. Same thing like with my I don't run any air compressors when I'm trimming out houses or anything. I run one brand with one battery and
Yeah.
that's it.
And
Yeah.
that makes sense to me. I think the people that are the best at it know what nail spotters are the best and what this is the best and what that is the best. And they do have like a very colorful kit. Um, but those people have all of everything.
Oh, for sure.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like if
Yeah.
Brad's got a fucking like a like a shed in the back of his house, okay? And it's
With
just it just
everything.
it's but it's like CSR and you just threw it all in there like it was garbage. Like
Oh yeah.
it's incredible. I walked past there to take a piss the one time and it's just scaffolding, tons of scaffolding on the outside. And then you kind of look in that little barn thing he's got there and I'm like, this is nuts.
Oh yeah, it's like
Uh
I imagine it's like a drywall superstore in
that's
there.
exactly what it looks like. And some of them are fucked up and some of them look brand new and you're just like, all right, dude. But I mean, at some point, when you start reviewing things and people want your opinion, like Cam's going to fall into this very quickly, where everybody wants his opinion on everything, and they're not going to ask for it back.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so you're just going to end up with
right.
a million of everything. But luckily, when you do that, you'll find what ones are the best and the worst or whatever. But yeah, my flag's black, man. I love these guys. When I was nobody, they treated me really well. Not to say
Yeah,
that I'm not
I
nobody now, but I mean, I've got a little bit of a presence now.
I mean you're somebody, but I will say this about Columbia's customer service
It's
is freaking
fantastic.
top notch, awesome. Before I even knew who Aaron was on Instagram,
Hmm.
I called them and I had a question about my I had a bearing go out on my 10 box and it
Oh,
was causing my axle.
we
So
got less than a minute. We'll be right back.